told you. Nothing they told you was ever really yours. Every golden door they showed you had 1,000 hidden flaws. Count what you've lost, chasing everything they said you'd gain. Then tell me if the currency was ever worth the pain. Before the feed existed, someone handed you a role. Gave you lines to memorize before you understood your soul. Phone before a childhood, screen before a sky. Algorithm feeding answers before you learned to question why. System built for sorting, you got sorted at the gate. Postcode wrote your future before you showed up late. Watch the sharp tongue rise on nothing but performance. Watch the quiet, honest ones get buried in the silence. Every leader on the stage rehearsed that speech last Tuesday. Every promise in the headline had an expiry. Trust me, borders drawn by strangers on a map nobody asked for. Generations bleeding on a line that was a cash war. Robots running the morning shift. By the time your kids are 20, innovation, they'll call it that. Why your pockets stay empty? I've been watching from the outside with my notepad and my pen. Every system that forgot the people falls again and again.
Nothing they sold you
was ever really yours.
Every golden door they showed you
had 1,000 hidden flaws.
Count what you've lost,
chasing everything they said you gained.
Then tell me if the currency was ever worth the pain.
Yeah. 7 billion breathing, every one of them alone. Crowded every platform just to feel it in the bone. Packaged up the outrage, sold it back as daily content. Got the masses fighting shadows, that was always the intent. Ice is cracking, summer burning, ocean swallowing the shore. 30 summers, 30 speeches, 30 ways to do no more. A single father holding 3 jobs in the winter dark, putting food before himself and calling it a fresh start. Generation carrying the weight of every lie compounding. Wired into everything and somehow still not found it. But there is a signal underneath the static in the cell. Older than the internet and deeper than the spell. Every ancient voice that ever spoke the truth said the same thing, that you were built for something no market could contain. King, so I'm bringing every buried word back up into the light, because staying silent now is just surrendering the fight.
Nothing they sold you
was ever really yours.
Every golden door they showed you
had 1,000 hidden flaws.
Count what you've lost,
chasing everything they said you'd gain.
Then tell me if the currency was ever worth the pain.
Let me ask you something quiet. When the noise stops at night and nothing's left to buy it, what is it you actually feel? Not what the feed says you should feel, not what the market says is real. That thing right there, underneath the deal. That was you before they gave you something to become. That was you before the world got loud. Before the self, before the sum. You don't need their currency, you never did. Every market closes, every rate expires. What you carry out of here is the only thing that matters.
Nothing they sold you
was ever really yours.
Every golden door they showed you
had 1,000 hidden flaws.
Count what you've lost,
chasing everything they said you'd gain.
Then tell me if the currency was ever worth the pain.